Chapter 19.
In potions class, Granger assumed her usual place beside Draco. She had just come from chatting with Potter and Weasley, joining Draco moments before the lesson began. "Did you catch what went down with the troll?" she whispered, and Draco seized the opportunity to hush her, steering clear of Severus's potential displeasure. Even with Draco's regular pairing with a student as despised as the ever-knowledgeable Granger, Severus's vexations were a continual threat. Throughout their potion-making, Granger regaled Draco with tales of Potter's heroic acts. Unfortunately, the task required little focus due to their shared expertise. Granger's intense attention to detail did little to change this. This alliance was almost a shortcut, as Pansy once lamented, criticizing how their pairing put others in a bad light. At the time, Draco thought her words were just envy, believing she longed to pair with him, but now he sympathized, enduring Granger's endless tales filled with irrelevant details. It was bearable compared to the last part of her rambling, regarding Severus's supposedly suspicious activities near a room with a three-headed dog, an incident the Gryffindors stumbled upon after a nocturnal skirmish. Draco was subjected to the elaborate story of Potter witnessing Hagrid secretly transporting a package from Gringotts, surmised to be linked to a thwarted heist. As if a grand wizarding bank were akin to a child's closet limited to housing a single large object. Granger lacked a solid idea of what the package contained, only suspecting something perilous and magical, convinced of Severus's malevolence. Draco pondered if he'd been too hasty in declaring Granger the brightest of their age to his father. Clearly, their interactions lacked any semblance of genuine friendship, at least on her end. Sharing such accusations without realizing his allegiance to Severus showed little understanding. Even if Draco hadn't known of Severus's ultimate sacrifice for Granger's cause, his fierce loyalty to Severus couldn't be swayed. Even if Severus's actions appeared dubious concerning that secreted package, Draco trusted it was for a justified cause. Exiting potions that day, Draco kept his defense of Severus tempered, but his outright dismissal of Gryffindor's suspicions was unmistakable. That afternoon at the library, Draco almost resorted to jinxing stray Gryffindors as Granger ushered Potter and Weasley to his table, behaving as if their presence was unquestioned. Thankfully, they spared Severus criticism. As Potter and Weasley departed earlier than he and Granger, Draco subjected Granger to a withering glare, its severity not easily achieved. Yet, she kept parading them to the library throughout the weekend, compelling Draco to eventually confront her. Why drag those two here? They're useless. They don't care about studying and have no desire to be here. Flushing, Granger responded, "They have their own homework, you know. And catching you outside the library isn't easy. We only see you in potions." Was it now? It was what he had hoped for, but he couldn't begrudge her having both Potter and Weasley along. Besides, now that I'm on friendly terms with Harry and Ron, I thought perhaps all four of us could be mates. An idealist, indeed. Do those boys fancy that idea too? Swapping insults and fisticuffs for camaraderie. Confused, Granger responded. You call him that often enough. Draco's cheeks flushed crimson. Different, he snapped. Don't push this, Granger. An alliance with Potter's group was unthinkable, more absurd than time-bending mirrors. Half of Slytherin suspected Draco of sinister affiliations as it stood. I don't belong there, and deep down you know it. Draco spent undue time considering the dichotomy of passive versus active, pondering their implications over his future. It was a choice between a known outcome and an uncertain endeavor. Either way, he couldn't envision any reality where he and Potter formed a bond. They wouldn't mind, Granger suggested, giving Draco license to roll his eyes openly. Well, that changes everything, Draco mocked. Granger winced at her own words. No, I mean, they aren't unfriendly, Draco. I know there have been bumps, like that Quidditch match and the duel among others. Exactly. Potter and I can't be friends. Our differences are irreconcilable. Yet Harry's always asking about you, she insisted. Ron gets annoyed sometimes. Harry talks about you so much. Always curious about your activities. Curious? Draco echoed in disbelief, considering Potter's interest in him suspicious. Aside from dealing with the Chosen One's punches? It's the rivalry, Granger. Within our year, Draco seemed to be the only one not trembling in hushed admiration or eagerly fawning over the boy who lived with chronic hair troubles. Hermione couldn't help but let out a laugh, quickly stifling it with her hand as if she had committed a small crime. Just try to give them a chance, okay? She urged. Can't make any guarantees, Draco replied with a smirk, feeling a sense of satisfaction as Potter and Weasley left their table in haste. This, of course, meant that on those rare occasions when those two remembered the existence of the library, Hermione would inevitably join them at another table. Not that Draco minded her absence. Although nowadays he didn't shy away from Hermione calling him a friend, it was too much bother to contest. He would personally only acknowledge her as a study partner, at least for now. She seemed fond of the bracelet he had given her, wearing it frequently. It was, after all, a piece befitting someone like Narcissa Malfoy, so why not for an 11-year-old Gryffindor? Potter, determined to make another feeble attempt at camaraderie, approached Draco after their following potions lesson. This time, Hermione lingered around, organizing their leftover supplies and taking longer than necessary. When they finally returned to the classroom, it was deserted except for a visibly nervous Potter, looking much like he did in fourth year when awkwardly seeking a date for the old ball. Hermione surprised Draco with her swiftness, retrieving a pre-packed bag and swiftly exiting, leaving Draco alone to gather his belongings with Potter beside him. Hey, Draco, Potter started hesitantly. Your potion today with Hermione. Well, it seemed really good. Apparently, being friends with Hermione elevated him from Malfoy to Draco in Potter's eyes. It seemed like Potter was painstakingly attempting to appear nonchalant, though it was clear the scenario was orchestrated to leave Draco isolated, something he usually went out of his way to avoid. They hadn't been in such solitude since their initial meeting, with the exception of that hair-raising first flying lesson. Seamus overheard some older Slytherins talking, Potter continued. They're saying you, might have released that troll in the dungeons? Draco donned his best sneer, regretting the heavy stack of books in his hands. He endeavored to avoid confrontations, particularly with Potter, knowing outcomes with him seldom leaned in his favor. But if anyone came for him, he was ready to retaliate tenfold. Are you accusing me, Potter, or simply hoping to pierce my heart with these accusations of mistrust? No, Potter exclaimed earnestly, stepping closer to emphasize his sincerity. No, not at all. Actually, I thought it was kind of amusing. Anyway, we're playing Slytherin soon, and I've been named Gryffindor Seeker. Would the Gryffindors ever cease their incessant blabber? Is that so, Potter? What a surprise. You've thoroughly astounded me with this completely unheard-of development. While seeing Potter on edge was slightly uplifting, Draco felt a kernel of anxiety himself, filled as he was with secrets he could unwittingly divulge to Potter. Potter seemed to be attempting friendship, stammering, will you be at the match? Draco had intended to spectate, but found himself resisting out of instinct. Oh, I might not. Rearranging my study plans is not preferable. My studies are vital since I'm aiming to become an unspeakable. Yeah, Hermione mentioned that, but I guess I just wanted to thank you. I wouldn't be on the team if… yes, the duel, wasn't it, Potter? Potter appeared quite lost, fumbling more than even dealing with girls had made him. No, but you enjoy Quidditch, right? I heard you mention to Hermione that you were quite skilled once, and from what I saw, you were impressive during practice. I wish we could have another go, but I know first years aren't allowed brooms or participation, so… Fueled by irritation, Draco flung a book into his bag with unnecessary force. What's your goal here? A little gloating, is it? Youngest Seeker in a century, and now here to remind me of your superiority. No, I wasn't, Potter protested feebly, but before he could continue, the calmest yet deliberate voice cut in. Draco, is Mr. Potter offering you any trouble? Severus slipped back into the room. Draco, familiar with his professor's schedule, recalled the approaching class Severus would soon be prepping for with the second years, including Slytherins. Severus needed the room ready, and though these were students he found pleasant and detestable in equal measure, likely his preferences as Draco liked to think being his godson earned him favor. Severus had taken time to impart knowledge during detention, a sign of fondness, perhaps, even though Draco had once stolen from him. "It's fine, Professor," Draco assured, eager to exit the scene of fraternization with Potter, whom Severus evidently disdained. But Potter shot Severus a glare that seemed misplaced for someone as young as he, one filled with contempt disproportionate to the situation. Draco recalled Hermione's concerns about Severus and saw the connection in Potter's eyes. "A word, Mr. Potter," Severus intoned, halting Potter's move to follow Draco. For some inexplicable reason, Draco found himself outside waiting, akin to a bashful admirer, only to snap out of the thought Potter possibly wanted merely to defame his godfather, prompting his Malfoy pride to propel him away. Malfoy pride perhaps also kept him from attending the Gryffindor-Slytherin match, disturbing the other first-year Slytherins, who had kept a wary distance so far. "Draco," Pansy exclaimed, her expression more alarmed than when he teased her with threats of unleashing the Malfoy family troll. "You adore Quidditch. You always exclaimed how you were eager for the matches at Hogwarts."
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this chapter, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with more audiobooks. Happy listening!